Have you ever met someone who eats organic, counts every calorie, takes all the supplements, and yet still wakes up tired, anxious, and emotionally fragile? Or maybe it's you. Perhaps you've done everything right: the green smoothies, the gluten-free, the probiotics, and still feel like something deep inside is quietly breaking down. So here's the question no one asks out loud. If we're feeding our bodies the best foods, why are we still starving emotionally? There's a quiet truth that's rarely acknowledged. Food alone doesn't heal, because the body doesn't just digest what we eat, it also digests what we think, what we feel, and what we believe about ourselves. In Zen, there's a saying, true healing doesn't come from adding more remedies, it comes from removing the root of suffering. And more often than not, that root isn't on your plate, it's in your mind. This isn't a video about demonizing medicine or rejecting nutrition. It's about finally seeing the whole picture and understanding that real healing begins not just on your plate, but in your thoughts, your breath, your stillness. So if you're ready to stop treating symptoms and start feeding the soul, if you've tried everything outside and still feel something is missing inside, then maybe, just maybe, it's time to look in a gentler direction. Let's explore the three sacred layers of true healing: your food, your thoughts, and your way of living. Because when they align, your life changes from the inside out. Let's begin. 1. Nourishing foods, eating as a spiritual practice. What if food could heal your spirit, not just your stomach? We live in an age of abundance, yet somehow, deep inside, we remain undernourished. The problem isn't just in what we eat, but how we eat. Every bite we take carries not just calories, but consciousness. And this is where true healing begins. In Zen monasteries, eating is considered a sacred act, not something done while scrolling through phones or rushing to the next task, but a form of meditation in motion. Before each meal, monks pause. They hold their bowls gently with both hands. They breathe. They bow in silence. And then, only then, do they begin to eat, not to fill the stomach, but to honor life. There's a Zen gatha often recited before meals. In this food, I see the presence of the entire universe, supporting my existence. To eat this way, slowly, reverently, gratefully, is to transform a mundane act into a ceremony of healing. No meal is too small to be sacred. Even a single grain of rice, when eaten with mindfulness, can awaken the body's deepest intelligence. When you eat in a calm, mindful state, something almost miraculous happens inside you. Digestion improves, the nervous system shifts to rest and restore mode, blood pressure softens, and immune response strengthens. The body doesn't just absorb nutrients, it absorbs presence. The very way you breathe between bites affects how your food is metabolized. Have you ever noticed how a rushed meal leaves you feeling bloated or heavy, while a simple, peaceful meal, eaten in silence, feels almost medicinal? This isn't magic, it's biology wrapped in stillness. But why do so many of us eat mindlessly? Often it's not hunger we're feeding, it's loneliness, or anxiety, or emotional fatigue. We eat to distract ourselves from the ache we don't want to feel. A bag of chips becomes a quick escape from a deeper craving for connection, for meaning, for love. When you slow down and truly taste your food, you also begin to taste your emotions. You notice what's been numbed. You begin to choose food not out of fear or habit, but out of compassion. And that's where transformation begins. Here's something no one tells you. It's not just what you eat that shapes your health, but who you are when you eat it. If you eat organic vegetables while thinking angry, anxious thoughts, Your body digests both the nutrients and the stress. The energy you bring to the table becomes the energy that lives in your body. If you eat while feeling grateful, calm, and joyful, that energy becomes a part of your cells, your breath, and your mood. So before your next meal, ask yourself, what am I feeding? My body or my fear? There's a story from Zen that I love. A wandering monk once visited a village known for its lavish food. He was offered banquets, rice wine, and sweets, but he declined them all. Instead, he sat under a tree, gently opened his cloth bag, and took out a few dried roots. He ate them slowly, chewing each bite 30 times, eyes soft, mind serene. When asked why he refused the feast, he replied, "I do not eat to please the tongue. I eat to remember the earth. Even a root, chewed in silence, brings more joy than 10 noisy meals." That monk lived to a remarkable old age, healthy, radiant, and light in spirit. The answer to my fatigue was another supplement, another superfood, another restrictive diet. But the more I searched outward, the more disconnected I became from my own body. Until one morning I sat in silence with a simple bowl of warm oatmeal. No phone, no rush, just breathe and be still. And for the first time in years, I felt nourished, not just physically, but soul deep. That day I learned something precious. The way you eat is the way you live. Even the most healing food becomes toxic when eaten with stress, guilt, or shame. And even the simplest meal becomes medicine when eaten with love. So stop counting calories and start counting moments. Your body doesn't need perfection, it needs presence. Most people will go through their entire lives eating without tasting, chewing without noticing, filling without feeling. They'll spend years focused on what to eat and miss the miracle of how they eat. But not you, not anymore. Treat your mouth as if it were a temple. Let only what is kind, healing, and true pass through. Whether it's food or words, eating mindfully opens the gateway to true healing. But what happens when the foods we consume are healthy, yet our thoughts remain toxic? In the next part, we'll explore the hidden power of healing thoughts and how they shape every cell of your body. Let's continue. 2. Healing thoughts. Detox your mind, transform your life. What if your thoughts could poison or heal your body more powerfully than anything you eat? You can eat clean, drink green juice, and take all the right supplements. But if your inner world is chaotic, if your thoughts are full of fear, anger, and judgment, your body feels that. And it responds, not in theory, but in pain, tension, and disconnection. In Zen, there's a beautiful teaching. Your thoughts are like seeds. Each one you water will grow. This means that every thought you repeat is a kind of prayer you're whispering to your body. A thought of peace waters peace in your cells. A thought of resentment, no matter how justified, becomes a root of inflammation. The Buddha compared the mind to a field. If you plant seeds of mindfulness, compassion, and letting go, you harvest well-being. But if you let wild, angry weeds grow unchecked, they strangle the energy that keeps your body alive. Zen doesn't say don't think. It says notice which thoughts you feed. And remember, you don't have to believe every voice in your head just because it sounds familiar. Thoughts aren't just psychological, they're physiological. Every time you think a stressful or fearful thought, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline. If that thought becomes a habit, your body begins to live in fight or flight mode, even in a quiet room. Over time, this leads to immune suppression, digestive problems, chronic fatigue, and even premature aging. The body keeps a record of the mind's weather, and if the mind storms too often, the body begins to erode. But here's the good news. When your thoughts become gentler, so does your biology. Your breath deepens, your blood vessels relax, your digestion strengthens, the immune system activates its natural healing codes. You may wonder, if negative thoughts feel so bad, why do I keep thinking them? Because at some level, they feel familiar, safe even, especially if we've been hurt, disappointed, or criticized in the past. We often adopt protective thoughts. I can't trust anyone. I'm not enough. It's too late for me. These beliefs begin as defense mechanisms, but if unexamined, they harden into inner prisons. True healing begins not by fighting these thoughts, but by noticing them, gently, without judgment, and asking, is this thought serving the life I want to create? Or is it keeping me in a loop of old pain? And slowly we learn to choose differently. Every thought you think carries a vibration, a frequency, a signal that your body listens to and mirrors. This is why people who consistently think peaceful, grateful thoughts seem to glow, even without perfect health. When you shift your thinking from fear to trust, your energy field shifts too. You become more open, more magnetic, your relationships shift, your body opens to healing. The universe begins to respond to who you're becoming, not who you've been. So the next time you catch yourself in a spiral of worry, try this. Pause. Breathe. Replace the thought with one that feels slightly kinder. Not perfect, just kinder. That single shift can change your whole day. A Zen parable tells of two monks walking along a muddy path. They come across a woman who cannot cross a stream. The older monk lifts her gently, carries her across, and sets her down. They walk on in silence. Hours later, the younger monk bursts out, "Why did you carry that woman? Our vows forbid us from touching women." The elder smiles calmly and says, "I put her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" This is how most of us live, with thoughts we should have let go of long ago. Anger from a conversation 5 years ago. Shame from something we did at 20. An unspoken grudge, packed neatly into the body like a stone in the gut. Let it go, not because it's easy, but because your life deserves peace. I used to think that changing my thoughts meant forcing myself to stay positive, but that only made me feel fake and more disconnected. What truly helped me was this simple practice. Watch the thought and breathe. Don't judge it. Don't argue. Just see it and let it pass like a cloud across the sky. That tiny gap between thought and reaction is where your healing lives. The most powerful medicine I've taken isn't a pill or a smoothie. It's the moment I said, "This thought isn't me, and I don't have to carry it anymore." Let's be honest. Some of our thoughts are like bad roommates. They show up uninvited, criticize everything, and never clean up. But here's the trick. You don't have to let them run the place. You can give them a seat and then kindly escort them out. Because your mind isn't a trash can, it's a temple. Imagine your mind as a quiet garden. Some weeds will grow. That's natural. But what will you choose to water? Water peace, water hope, water forgiveness. Most people will go their entire lives believing their thoughts are facts, but not you. Now you know. You can choose which thoughts to believe and which to release. And that one shift changes everything. Now that your food nourishes your body and your thoughts support your healing, the question becomes, how do you bring this awareness into daily life, into movement, routine, and being? In the next part, we'll explore exactly that, how to live with intention so your healing becomes your lifestyle. Shall we walk on? 3. A healing life. Align your actions with your intentions. You can eat the healthiest food. You can think the most peaceful thoughts. But if your daily life is rushed, restless, and disconnected, the healing never lands. Why? Because your body believes what you live, not just what you intend. Zen doesn't stop at the meditation cushion. It begins there. A common teaching in Zen temples is, how you sweep the floor is how you live your life. In other words, healing is not some distant goal. It's in the way you wake up, how you tie your shoes, how you pour your tea. It's in the micro moments, the spaces between tasks, where your true energy is built or depleted. When the way you live is in harmony with what you value, your cells feel that alignment, and healing becomes natural, not forced. Zen monks rise early, walk slowly, eat simply, bow often, not to perform rituals, but because they stand one truth. A peaceful life is not an idea, it's a rhythm. Modern research supports what the ancients already knew. Consistent, meaningful routines regulate the nervous system. A steady rhythm of sleeping, moving, breathing, and even spending time in nature rebalances your circadian rhythm, lowers stress hormones, and restores immune strength. It's not about being rigid, it's about being reliable to your body, to your soul. Even small actions, when done with intention, signal safety to the brain, and safety is the soil where healing grows. So if it's so simple, why don't we live this way? Because change, even beautiful change, triggers resistance. Part of the mind fears slowing down. Why? Because the quiet might bring up emotions we've been avoiding for years. Because chaos feels more familiar than peace. Because we secretly believe, I don't deserve a calm life. And yet underneath all that noise is a deeper voice, a wiser one. It doesn't scream, it whispers, you're allowed to live differently now. The first step isn't to force new habits, it's to get curious. What tiny actions can I take today that reflect who I'm becoming, not who I've been? When you align your daily life with your inner healing, something magical happens. The universe responds. Your energy becomes congruent. Your thoughts, your food, your choices, they stop contradicting each other. You stop sending mixed signals. And in that harmony, opportunities arise. You attract relationships that feel nourishing. You sleep better. You start hearing your intuition again. You begin to flow with life, not fight it. This is the quiet power of aligned action. It doesn't look dramatic from the outside, but inside it's a spiritual revolution. There was once a monk who struggled with restlessness. No matter how much he meditated, he still felt anxious, disconnected. One day his teacher asked, when you sit, do you sit? When you eat, do you eat? When you walk, do you walk? The monk hesitated. His teacher smiled and said, then your peace is not in your mind, it is in your actions. From that day forward, the monk stopped trying to be peaceful and simply began living peacefully. He slowed his walk. He listened when others spoke. He drank tea with both hands. And one morning he realized his anxiety had dissolved, not through effort, but through alignment. In my journey, the greatest healing came not from grand changes, but from choosing to live with more honesty. For years, I said I wanted peace, but I overscheduled, overcommitted, and overthought. One day I asked myself, if my body could speak, what would it ask me to stop? The answer was clear. It didn't want more affirmations or supplements. It wanted me to slow down, to live what I say I believe. And so I did. And slowly my breath deepened, my sleep softened, my joy returned. Imagine this. You pour tea into a cup, but you never stop. No matter how fine the tea is, it spills over, wasted, messy. This is what happens when we try to heal through food and thoughts without changing our way of being. Our lives become too full to absorb the benefits, Zen teaches, empty your cup, not to have less, but to receive more. Let's be honest. Most of us have tried to align our lives while doom scrolling in pajamas, munching on kale chips at 2 a.m. The truth? Healing doesn't happen in theory, it happens in practice. And practice happens in the way we brush our teeth and check our phones. So yes, it's okay to laugh at the journey. But also, to begin, most people will live their entire lives with good intentions. But their daily actions will tell a different story. And that quiet misalignment, it drains energy more than age ever will. But you don't have to live that way. Now that we've connected your food, your thoughts, and your actions into one living system of healing, it's time to bring it home, gently, fully, into the life you're already living. So here we are, at the end of a journey that didn't lead you anywhere new. It simply brought you back to yourself. We've walked through 3 sacred gateways: nourishing food, mindful thoughts, and aligned actions. And the deeper truth we've uncovered? Healing was never about adding more. It was about returning to what was always within. In Zen, we say, the moon is always full, even when the clouds hide it. Your vitality, your clarity, your joy, they were never lost, only clouded. You don't need to chase after elaborate cures or wait for life to be perfect. You simply need to remove what blocks the flow. One breath, one bite, one gentle thought at a time. So let me ask you, which one of these 3 called out to you most today? Your food, your thoughts, or your way of living? What is one simple change, small but honest, that you feel ready to begin? Please share it in the comments. You might just inspire someone who needed your voice. And if this message touched you, I warmly invite you to subscribe, like, and share. Not because this video is perfect, but because you are ready. Ready to walk gently, eat consciously, and live truthfully. You don't need more medicine. You need more mindfulness. You don't need more cures. You need deeper care. Let's keep walking this path together, one mindful step at a time. Pukar,